Holy smokus, it ain't no jokus. XRP impromptu video. I wasn't going to make an XRP video today. I'm flying back home today, but the news came out and I said, I gotta jump on the microphone while I'm putting all the stuff back into the suitcase. Ripple, they listen to me. We got some big news from Ripple after the news last night with their acquisition, right? And we'll talk a little bit about the acquisition, what it means, but we'll also talk about the big news that came out and what Ripple is doing right now. And they are listening to me, and this could mean very, very, very potential bullish movement for the price of XRP. We'll talk about why in just a second. All I ask from you is that you give me a beautiful smile to send out those good vibes. Smishity smash that like button. It really helps out. So I really appreciate it. And it's free. So do that now. As always, I want to remind you that I will never tell you to buy, to sell, or to hold, because day to day, I do not know what the price of XRP is going to do, how the markets are going to react. Of course, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. So as you can see, XRP had this pop up here to 239, but sold off with the rest of the crypto market that sold off here. Bitcoin is at 108,000, Ethereum under 4,000, 3,900. The crypto market, again, hasn't been great over the past few days. We're already almost at the end of October, right? And it has been, well, basically as anticipated. But at the beginning, everybody was saying, oh, October. And I told you guys, listen, last year we experienced the whole October saga and it didn't come to fruition. This year, it might not come as well. And that's what happened. Some might say, I give you all the possibilities. And I always say, oh, listen, I was right. But I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Day to day, week to week, we don't know what Trump's going to say. We don't know what the Chinese are going to do. And that's a lot of what's happening in the current market. But you're going to want to watch all the way to the end, because there's something that we talk about how, sitting on fiat and not doing anything might be the worst thing that we can do. Of course, well, we'll get to that, okay? So make sure to watch all the way to the end. So the big news, right, and something that I have been pounding on the drums for basically since Tom Lee came out and started doing it, when it was only Strategy and Michael Saylor, it was more obscure. But once Tom Lee started doing it in other companies, I was like, hey, wait a second. Ripple should do this too, right? And I even tweeted out to Brad. I was like, hey, Brad, why don't you guys do this? And it seems like they're about to do it. So this is a reporting from Bloomberg Twitter account, right? 10 million people. It says Ripple Labs is leading an effort to raise at least $1 billion to accumulate XRP, the digital token linked to the company. So basically, what I'm thinking what they're going to do here, and that was my idea. Maybe I should ask some fee, right, for the idea, was to branch out Ripple, right? So create a secondary company, raise money to purchase XRP through that secondary company, and then go IPO that company, similar to what happened with Tom Lee and BMNR, right? And so we'll see if they do it this way or they do it a different way. It's similar to like a buyback when a company buys back shares, right? This is similar, but I don't know how, from an accounting point of view, they'll do this because they said that they don't want to IPO, but maybe they could branch off and create a new company or a subsidiary company and then IPO that and raise money and then buy XRP. And of course, that would be beneficial for the price of XRP if they're buying more XRP. That's how it works. But as you can see, we got a pop up here. I think maybe a lot of people are in the US are maybe sleeping right now, but it got a little bit of a bounce on the news. And then the market started just selling off a little bit. Again, $1 billion for XRP is about 3%, right? If you go and you look at the market cap of XRP, it's at 140 billion. So 1 billion isn't even 1%, right? So, the fact that it popped 3% on this news makes sense. I know people will be like, well, why isn't the price, popping? Well, there needs to be liquidity. There needs to be buying on this news. there's no buying, and the algos are scared, or people are scared right now. If we go and we look at the fear and greed index, it's pretty fearful, right? 22. Wow, it's at the lowest. That's kind of crazy. The lowest that it's been the whole cycle, right? When was it this low? Back in April. Yeah, makes sense. So we're basically back to April fear. And at that time, XRP in April dropped all the way down to 163, right? So we're better than that. And Bitcoin was at 75,000. So, this is a scenario where usually, right, not every single time, but usually when you have a situation of this kind of fear, right, it usually pops up. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen again, but this is what we've seen in the past, okay? Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the acquisition that Ripple announced last night with the G Treasury. Paul Barron says from his prediction, right, Ripple just made a $1 billion power move by acquiring G Treasury. They're not just entering the corporate treasury space, they're bringing XRPL to Fortune 500 finance teams managing trillion in capital. Legacy systems are about to meet real-time 24/7 crypto payments. The financial infrastructure shift is accelerating faster than anyone expected. Think of what's going to happen potentially here. Let's say a big company needs to pay, I don't know, Apple needs to pay Microsoft or something like that. And the banks are closed on the weekend. Well, they don't need to do it anymore. They can go through G Treasury and they can transfer money between the companies over the weekend, right? So this is going to be very, very interesting to see what would potentially happen. And Vincent Van Code says here, I'm pretty sure no one in crypto Twitter even understand what this is. Here's a shorter explainer. G Treasuries provide software that enables largely multinational corporations handle payment, liquidity, cash flow, etc. The software links into banking and payment systems such as SWIFT and ISO 20022 compliance. So the acquisition, along with Hidden Road and Standard Custody and Trust, allows Ripple to introduce digital assets into 100 trillion treasury market. Ripple doesn't need to sell XRP to big corporates. That is just part of the plumbing. The SaaS, the SaaS and UI doesn't change. It just means Ripple progressively rolls out faster, more efficient rails. That's the game. And this is the statement from Brad. It says, today, Ripple is breaking into the 120 trillion corporate treasury payments market with a 1 billion acquisition of G Treasury. The past few years have reminded this industry why payments, first and foremost, is the primary use case for crypto and blockchain. Payments are where Ripple first started for exactly these reasons. The infrastructure is complex, soiled with inefficient, but as we know, perfectly positioned to benefit from decentralized financial technologies. Astounding amounts of cash are trapped in outdated payment systems, creating friction, unnecessary costs, and barriers to entering new markets. G Treasury has been serving some of the most well-known brands for decades, and now, together with Ripple, we'll be able to help CFOs manage all their assets, including stablecoins, tokenized deposits, etc., at scale around the world, as well as put their ideal capital to work with repo markets via Hidden Road. The opportunity is here. We're diving right in. It's happening, right? Ripple press release. Huge news from Ripple, from XRP. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how all of this, again, this is more long-term, right? Short term, I don't know what's going to happen with the market in the next coming days. The next time I'll talk to you is Saturday night, if I'm not too tired. We'll see how the markets went into Saturday. Today's Friday. It's only a week from the Red Friday, Black Friday, however you want to call it. And it's been an interesting week, right? On top of the China tension and all that. But as I look at this and I look at the situation, there's an elephant in the room. I went to an elephant sanctuary here in Thailand, and we got to bathe the elephants and feed them, and it was really cool. The kids were a little bit afraid, but maybe I should send you some pictures. It's me without a shirt, so I don't know. Maybe I'm super pale, so it might. Some viewers might get they might be a little bit afraid from my paleness. So I don't know if I should share those photos with you. But it was an interesting situation. But anyway, confidence in fiat currencies has collapsed. As a result, absolutely no one wants cash right now. In fact, cash allocations for institutional investors is down to 3.8%, the lowest percentage in 12 years. The Fed will soon lose its independence. Rate cuts are coming into stagflation, and global debt jumped to 14 trillion in quarter 2 2025 to a record 337.7 trillion. You are either buying stocks at record highs, piling into gold or silver, or buying crypto. Meanwhile, corporations are investing hundreds of billions into AI, and governments will soon join the AI arms race, prompting more money printing. This is exactly why constantly stating own assets or be left behind. Fiat currencies are losing their purchasing power, and asset owners are looking to defend against it in any way possible. As investors, we can only play the hand we're dealt, right? We've talked about this multiple times. You know, in the 70s, if you bought a house for 50,000, right now it's worth probably like 400, 500,000, depending on where it was. But if you just left that 50,000 in your bank account and didn't buy any assets, then 50,000 today you can't buy squat with, right? No houses, right? So we know that this is probably going to be similar action in 50 years from now, right? When my grandma, rest in peace, was a child, she could go to the movies for a nickel, right? Or whatever, what she used to tell us, for a dime or a nickel, right? Now it's what, 10, 15 bucks to go to a movie, right? So again, that was about 80 years ago. So you see how inflation has gone up so much, and she understood that. And, you know, thankfully to her, she was investing. But a lot of people don't understand that. And you are already on the page. You're already, investing, interested, and doing things. So power to you, right? And be strong. Remember that there's always going to be risks. There's always going to be things that are happening in the crypto market. And crypto is volatile. You know, there's a reason why I start out every Monday with the warning about how crypto markets are volatile and the warnings about how, potentially all the risks. But it can also be very, very beautiful. And I've seen people make a lot of money. I've seen people lose a lot of money. Also in the stock market, by the way, also in real estate. I've heard horror stories. So there's any time you invest, you're speculating, you're taking a risk, okay? And so you need to remember that, okay? As again, not financial advice, always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Don't forget that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up to anything or to send me any money. Those are scammers. I'm not on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Telegram. I'm not sending you DMs. Please be very careful out there. Check out the links in the description down below to our partners, Blofin, Bitunix, BTCC. Make sure you check those out. And don't forget to smash the like button and drop a comment, 8 for infinity and beyond. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.